Good morning, Americans. This is your favorite alien and Bubba sitting in for Paul Harvey today. And now, the rest of the story. Well, Americans, here we sit on the morning of May 26th, 2020, day after Memorial Day. And if Mr. Paul Harvey were alive today, he would do a story about a flawed leader. Every leader is flawed in some way or another. Take the point of John F. Kennedy. He was a flawed leader, and even though he was flawed, he's considered one of your better presidents. Womanizer, yes. Oh, was he ever? But take the example of a crisis, especially the Cuban Missile Crisis, where he had advisors that were pointing him to invade Cuba, or attack the Russian ships, sink them. Yeah, which would have cost World War III. Russia was determined to have their way, or the Soviet Union at the time. And everybody's opinions was we have to invade Cuba. We don't want missiles in Cuba. He went to the public, to the American people with a broadcast. Remember that one? And he told them that there was offensive missiles in Cuba. For a president to do that and be as honest as he was, as far as he could go, because there is no government that's 100% honest and 100% open, ever, in any universe. And you're going to find that out. But there are governments that are so transparent with their people that their people build trust in them. And they built a trust with that president. Now, the president didn't look at things like yes or no, 0 or 1, right or wrong. He looked at things, how do we get out of this with the least amount of bloodshed and loss of lives on both sides? And that's what he did. He mitigated it. And that's something you don't understand, Americans, mitigation. And what he came up with was the blockade, which Khrushchev had no choice but swallow. It cost him his leadership a year later when they threw him out and put the big three in, Brezhnev, Nikolai Podgorny, and Andrei Gromyko. Yeah, remember them? The big three. Well, but the big three honored their report with the president, who was dead by then. Contrast that with today's president. Antagonistic, inept, doesn't believe in anything but himself. And if President Kennedy were alive today, I believe, and so would Mr. Paul Harvey would believe, that he would have done as follows. He would have, when the coronavirus started in December, he would have shut down everything from China. He wouldn't have said any bad comments or any good comments about China. He would have said, we'll deal with you later. He would have put the economy in shutdown, 45 days. He would have established a mitigating program because they didn't know anything about this virus. They didn't know where it came from, what it was. He wouldn't have said, oh, we're going to do a cure right off the bat in the vaccine. Because you know how hard it is to get a vaccine for a virus? Look at all the viruses you got. Yellow fever. The vaccine is not 100%. Typhoid. They got a vaccine for that. That's maybe 70% effective. Flu, the most vaccine you know. Not even 70% effective. You see what I mean? And no cure for any of those diseases. No cure for polio. There's no cure for cancer. right? So you should have done what President Kennedy would have done. He would have put you down on 45-day lockdown, separated the country into sectors, and try to mitigate the virus. Where it comes from, two things: air or people contact. We already eliminated the people contact by the lockdown. So let's go into individual buildings and check for the air sample and see if the virus is there. If it is, then we put air purifiers to take the virus out of the air, mitigate it. It's not going to be completely out, and build high powered city street sweepers that mitigate it from the air too. It won't be completely there, but at least we can go to our functions and have the least amount of death as possible until we can continue mitigating this virus. He didn't do that, President Trump. This is why I say if Mr. Paul Harvey were alive today, this is what he would do as a report. Sitting in for Paul Harvey today, this is your favorite alien and Bubba. Good day.